So we're now going to make this patch here, which we've called Beautiful Binka. And Binka, in case you're thinking, what's that? That's this fabric here that, if you look closely, has got loads of like little holes in. You might, when you were in primary school, you might have done this. I remember making like bookmarks for my mum and stuff, but it's really relaxing and it's just a lovely thing to do. And one of the reasons why we've chosen to do this is, as well as it adding loads of lovely colour and loads of detail, the threads, which you'll see, still are made by Anchor threads, which is what we're celebrating with the Paisley Cotton Mills. So the Beautiful Binka, I'm now going to go through all the different stitches and you'll end up with a patch like this. Okay, so I've just angled the camera a bit differently so you'll be able to see the stitches that we're going to do on this Binka project. This is such a lovely one to do and most people have found it like really relaxing, so I hope you do as well. I'm just going to show you first of all how to do a straight stitch, which is similar to this one, not exactly the same, and I'll explain why. If you haven't already got your threads cut, just try and cut them no longer than the length of your arm, just to save it getting all tattered. So what we'll do is we leave one square at the edge, and then we're going to start on the second square. So you just push your needle up. Now we're going to do this slightly differently than what you would normally do. Whoop, there it is. Right. So you can see I've got it in here. Now all I'm going to do for our blankets is literally tie a knot around the edge, because when it all gets sewn together you're not going to see this, and it's a super easy way for us to start. Okay, so don't worry about how messy this edge looks here. Right, so to do a straight stitch, you're literally going to come up, move out the way, whoops. You're just going to come up through a square, and then you can count whether you want the stitches to be longer or shorter. You might want to do just one square, so therefore if you want to do just one square size, you just take your needle in one square, poke it back up the next. And you can see that's how you do your first stitch. And I'm just going to do a few more of these. And you can actually pile, if you feel confident, just do a few at the same time. Push your needle in, out, and then just pull the thread and you'll see it's done a couple of stitches at a time. The maximum you can do this way is probably 3, but it's like a really fast way to like zoom along. You can see on the other line of stitch that I've done, there's some stitches that are 1 square apart and some stitches, the biggest stitches here, it's hard to say on the camera, here, which are 2 squares apart. So it's totally up to you like what size you do. Okay, so if you think you've cracked the straight stitch, I'm now just going to show you a super simple way to convert this into something even more fun. So you can do 2 lines of straight stitch like this, and you'll notice, by the way, that I've left about a knuckle, about an inch away from the edge, and this because when we sew it all up into a blanket, we don't want to waste a lovely line of your stitch by me having to like sew them all together. So just leave about a couple of centimetres from the end. Okay, so then if you've done 2 lines of straight stitch like this, what you then can do is get a contrasting colour. I've chosen this clashing orange. You're then going to start the same way, just by tying off the end, just like we did in the straight stitch. Okay, and do 2 knots to make sure it doesn't ravel. Whoops. It's hard to do this so you can still see on the camera. Right, so you've got your orange stitch. Now all I'm gonna do is using the stitches that you've all made already. You just take your needle, thread it through these 2 here, and pull it out. Can you see? Okay, and then where we've come up at the top, just ignore those for now. You're then just going to take your needle and thread and push it back through the other 2 red stitches and pull. So we've got this little loop. And then you just keep on going. So it's like a little wave stitch. So with this, with the orange thread, I'm not actually even going into this white binka. I'm literally just using my straight stitches that I've already made. Okay, so it just makes it a bit fun. I'll do a couple more of these and then I'll hold it up so you can see. And this will look kind of quite different if you've done your straight stitches 2 squares apart. So just do a couple more and then you'll get the idea of this wavy stitch. Try and make sure that you pull them evenly so they've got the same amount of like loop on each one. But you can see how just super simply I've made 2 straight stitches look a bit more interesting and a little bit more fun. Okay, so now we've done a straight stitch, the wave stitch, and we're now going to do the cross stitch, which you can just see I've started there. So you would do it like normal, tie off the end, just on the end of your binka, and then you can see a cross stitch is like little X's. And it is a tiny bit more difficult than what we've done so far, but it's totally and utterly manageable, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely brilliant at it. Okay, so what you just basically need to do is imagine like little squares where the holes are. So I'm going to pop up at the top, what is that, left-hand corner, and I'm going to go down in a diagonal to the bottom right-hand corner. So that's just like made my first stitch. So that's a half cross stitch. Then I'm going to come, my needle's going to come back up in the, the bottom left-hand corner. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to take it to this top right-hand corner, and that's our stitch. So I'll just do that again. We come up, top left, go diagonal to the bottom, then come out here, and then go across there. And that is that. Okay? And you can actually do this in 2 different sizes if you want to. As long as you just keep on thinking of it as being like a big square. So what I can do if I want is poke my needle up like I normally would. And this time, rather than just go 1 little square, I'm going to go 2 squares. And then, whoopsie, I'm going to come up in that bottom corner again, and I'm going to go across. And that's your big stitch. And you can do a variety if you want to do all little, all big, little big, little big. It's totally up to you. This patch is when you can have a bit of fun, just like designing, just experimenting with different stitches. Just enjoy yourself with this one.